Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks so much for coming by to check out another video. In this video, I want to talk to you about a problem that I feel that many resellers are likely experiencing on a daily basis, and that has to do with how do you effectively navigate through and manage and consume all the different types of social media content that is out there regarding reselling, while also trying to effectively and efficiently manage your own reselling business. And this is something that could be an enormous challenge, especially in this day and age when there's just so much information out there regarding reselling in social media platforms, that it requires the application of good time management strategies and other specific strategies designed specifically to deal with this very issue. And so I'm going to pass some of those strategies on to you in just a few minutes, but I don't pretend that those are all the strategies that are out there. So if you have other ideas and suggestions that you use, please let me know what those are down below and let others know down below, because I want this video to be a repository of sorts of suggestions that people can go to who are struggling with this issue, especially for people who are new and just getting into reselling. It really can be overwhelming. So thank you in advance if you share some of that information down below in the comment section. And don't be ashamed to admit that this is a problem, because again, I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with in some way, shape, or form. And that's why I created these time management strategies to deal with it, is in my instance, to prevent it from becoming a problem to such a degree that I can't effectively run my business, because I deal with this issue not only as a consumer of social media content, but like many of you who are watching this video, also a producer of social media content. For example, this very video that you see right now. And there's other things that I'm involved with as well, and that you're involved with. And so when you're not only consuming it and also producing it, you know, that is just a whole nother layer of challenge that's put on top of it. But even if you're someone who's solely consuming the information, that could be something that could tie you up all day. Let me take you through a mini tour of sorts of some of the social media platforms. I don't pretend that it's all of them, but I'll take you through a tour of some of them before I get into some of the strategies and suggestions. So for example, Facebook. Now, there's a lot of excellent Facebook groups out there dedicated specifically to reselling. As many of you know, I run a Facebook group. It's called the Reselling Resource Center. You see it right there. And in less than a year, there's over 5,000 members in the group, and it's very active throughout the day with 5,000 members in it. It's a very friendly group, a very supportive group. If you're interested in joining it, the link is down below. We have the 1-year anniversary celebration coming up on January 19th of this year, and we're going to have a live show dedicated to that, so stay tuned for some information on that in coming days. But mine is one of just many groups out there. For example, let's take a look at Casey Paris's group, the Rockstar Flipper. He runs Thrifter and Reseller World. Now, Casey's going to be on this show, on my live show tomorrow night on this channel, so make sure you stay tuned for that. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do an hour-long interview, and I actually did an hour-long interview on Casey's channel, which you could see linked down below in my description section of this video, which was solely dedicated to time management strategies for resellers. So that can help you too as a resource if you want to check that out. But Casey's group has over 100,000 members in it. I mean, that's absolutely staggering. And that's just in a few years. Look at that, 105,178 members. That's incredible. So you can literally wake up in the morning and you could come into Casey's group and you could be there from the beginning of the day until the end of the day interacting with it. So that whether that's reading comments, responding to comments, clicking on links that were posted, clicking on approved videos, that sort of thing. I mean, you could literally be there all day, and that's just one group within one platform of social media. There's notifications that pop up. Like you could see here, I have 7 notifications to get to. There's one person, and that was earlier. If I refresh this, there's probably more than that in terms of members that want to join the group now. So those are approval requests that I have to deal with, and you'd have to deal with that as well if you're managing a group, or if you have a YouTube channel, there could be comments and things that you need to get to. So there's that sort of stuff. So let's see how many people want to join the group now. 4 people. So you see now there's 4 people, so that's 4 approvals that I have to get to, and that's part of social media management. So now I could sit here and I could just click on every single request that comes in to join the group throughout the day, and I'll just be there all day doing that. Or I could set that aside for a specific time and do it then. So that's kind of a sneak preview of some of the strategies that you could use, and that one would be much more efficient way to do it, is just try to do everything all in one shot rather than trying to do everything as it comes, because you're going to get a lot of notifications in all of these different platforms in almost a continuous stream, depending on how many people you're connected to and how many platforms you're on. So for example, Instagram is another great social media platform to be on. I highly suggest going on it. Now you might find that ironic that I'm suggesting going on these social media platforms while also discussing how it could be so distracting that it could cripple your business. But just because something has the potential to do something negative doesn't mean that it has to, and doesn't mean that it doesn't have other aspects to it that are very redeeming and that could be very helpful for you. So by contrast, I actually strongly suggest that you be significantly involved in social media with regards to reselling, but you just have to make sure you're balancing it out and you're managing it properly. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. But on Instagram, if you're not a member of it, it is associated with Facebook. Facebook purchased Instagram, so there's a good integration between the two systems. Instagram is really cool because it allows you to post these short little video stories and little infographics and pictures. It's a very picture-based type of way to interact. Now there are obviously within it, there are ways that you can write messages and you can text and talk to one another on it. So there's lots of different avenues to communicate on it, but it is more of a picture-based communication system than Facebook, in which you could also communicate with pictures, but that tends to be more of a running dialogue, within the Facebook group. So, but either one is, very helpful for resellers. Another cool thing about Instagram is that you could do live videos, which you could also do on Facebook. But what I like about the Instagram is that you can have people come in and do a split screen video with you that you could then share while all of your other friends or people who are following you are on at the same time as you, and there could be like a running dialogue and running discussion, and you could kind of interact with everyone and get to know some of the other resellers out there by going on video with them. And that's a fun thing. I try to do that at least once a week, and I did that last night for about a half an hour. So that's another fun aspect of Instagram. There's Twitter. I have a Twitter account. As you can see, I don't talk about it often because I'm not really active with it. I mean, it's an active account, but I don't routinely post stuff to it. And the reason for that is that while there are many resellers out there who are very well known and have great reselling accounts on Twitter, I have found in my experience that there's many more of them on Instagram and many more of them on in terms of Facebook groups that are helpful for me to go at as a forum. Now, I don't know. You may find that there's some great Twitter resources out there that you like and go to, and that's fine. We all have our certain preferences. Some people might like Twitter rather than Instagram. My point really is just showing you that there are a lot of different venues with regards to reselling you could go on in social media, and there are a lot of people who are very active in it. Reezy Resales is, Professor Sales is, Casey the Rockstar Flipper is on there posting stuff. Raking Profits, I see post stuff on there. So there's people that are involved with it. It's just another place you could go to where you could consume content. A lot of people have a Pinterest page. Not so much for sharing reselling information per se, but more for promoting your own listings in pictorial form. I don't know if Jessie Likes to Thrift is watching this, but I know she uses Pinterest to share her her postings, not social media postings, but to share her items that she has in her eBay business. So that's just another venue that you now have to manage. There's of course YouTube, which you're on right now, and you get notifications through that, as you do with all these other ones. You can see here's one Twitter notification. There's Instagram notifications that are going to come up on your phone throughout the day. You really don't primarily use Instagram on desktop. You could load it through desktop, but you don't primarily use it that way for the most part. So your phone is usually the place where you're getting a lot of notifications there. You can see here there's a bunch of Pinterest notifications, and YouTube, there's notifications you're going to get throughout the day too. If you run a YouTube channel like I do, you're going to get people who are dropping comments, and the comments that you have to respond to, or that you should respond to if you're running a group. Or maybe you don't run a YouTube channel, but you're someone who likes to comment, and you're commenting throughout the day on various channels, and you're interacting with the people who run the groups. I mean, either way, it's a use of your time on social media devoted to reselling, but during that time you're not actually doing your specific reselling business activities, but you're involved with it because you believe that it's going to help you in some way, and that's what you want it to be. Remember, you want this to be a resource that helps you. You don't want it to be something that hurts you. So you have to stop and think, is my use of social media regarding reselling helping my business, helping my bottom line? Am I improving? Am I growing with my business, or am I slowing down? And if I'm slowing down, if I'm not getting up enough listings every day, or am I not getting enough pictures taken every day for my items? Am I not prepping my items enough? Am I not sourcing my items enough because I'm tied up with social media? That's where you have to stop, and you have to basically just kind of say, all right, this is something where I need to try to make some changes. So we're going to get into those suggestions in just a moment. But before I jump into those, just one other source of distraction that many people don't think of as social media, but email. Email actually is a form of social media. And you can see here, for example, I have 51 emails over there. Now, they're not all fresh emails. Some of them are reminders to myself that I kind of keep as new, so they look like new emails. But the point is that email is just another source of potential distraction. So in terms of ways to deal with it, let's go through a few different strategies that you could use. So number one, and this one is extreme, but I do think that it is worth using every once in a while, which is just clicking off every single one of these windows. So you close down all social media tabs on your desktop or on your laptop, if that's where you're using it. Now, if you're only using your phone, or if you have your phone out as well while you have your computer screen on, you need to basically find some way to disengage from your phone. So that could be leaving your phone in another room and making sure you cannot hear it. So turning the volume down, and also making sure that it's not buzzing with notifications. So you got to have the vibration off as well. Now, you may say, well, I need to have the phone on because I need to hear if such and such is going to call. If that's the case, you're going to have some type of notification setting on, whether or not that's a buzz or a ding. But in that sense, you have to have the mental discipline that you are only going to respond to it if it is a phone call. If it's any other kind of notification, a ding or a buzz that could be tied to one of your social media accounts, you are not going to go to it. So you basically have to cut the source of distraction out. That is one strategy, one thing that you could do. Now, for those of you who say, nah, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. It's not really realistic for how I operate. Okay, so let's talk about another strategy for how to deal with it then. Another strategy, but again, this requires some strong mental discipline. Let's say you have all these tabs open, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to write up a listing for something on eBay. So you go over to eBay, you have your eBay tab open, and you tell yourself, what I have to do now, what my goal is right now, is I have to make this listing and I have to get it posted. And until I get this posted, I am not going over to one of those social media tabs, and I am not looking at my phone if there is a notification that goes off. And so you make it your use of social media basically dependent on accomplishing goals related to your business. So you could almost look at it, if you really, really love interacting with the social media, almost as a source of motivation and as a source of reinforcement for accomplishing something related to your business. And I do that all the time because I'm getting notifications left and right all day from the moment I wake up until the end of the day, and then including overnight that I deal with when I wake up in the morning. So it is a constant, never-ending flow. And if I wanted to, I literally could sit here all day, be on my phone, be on the computer, and I have a full-time job that I do as well that's separate and completely unrelated to reselling. So you've got to find a way to manage it in chunks, and managing it as a continuous stream. That is how you are going to find that you are going to get overwhelmed and you are going to get too distracted and pulled off task way too frequently, because depending on how many people you're connected to, you could literally have notifications going off every few seconds throughout the day or every few minutes. So that's another strategy, is making your social media use dependent on accomplishments in your reselling business. I just gave a listing as an example, but you could say I got to photograph these 5 items before I go back to social media. So that's one thing. Another thing you could do is multitasking, and a lot of people criticize multitasking. I talked about this on Casey's channel, though. Multitasking sometimes gets a bad rap. It really depends on how you do it, and you can do it effectively so that you could use social media while also doing your reselling business. For example, one of the main places that people like to go to for social media is with reselling is YouTube. And YouTube video is very popular, and you want to make ones that, and listen to ones that don't always require you to watch. Like the one I'm doing right now, you don't really have to watch it. You could just listen to it. Many of you probably are just listening to it, and you don't need to watch any kind of video. And while you're doing that, you could walk around with your headphones. You could carry it with you, on your iPod or something like that. If you download it, I mean, there's all different ways that you could do it. But while you're doing that, you could pack. So while you're packing and shipping, I do this all the time. Right behind me, you see there's that white shelf. I usually have my phone up there, and I'm watching different social media people on YouTube. And even last night on Instagram, for example, I was doing my one of my packing jobs while I was holding a conversation with people from my Facebook group who are also on my Instagram account. And so you can do that type of thing. You could do that type of multitasking if the thing you're doing related to your reselling business isn't too cognitively demanding. So it doesn't take a lot of in-depth thinking to figure out how to put bubble wrap around the package and to put it into a box and to, get some air cushioning in it. But you don't want to do things like doing your taxes or doing, inventory accounting at the same time while you're trying to hold a conversation with someone on Instagram live related to reselling. I mean, that's going to be too distracting, and it's going to make you prone to mistakes. So you've got to be careful with exactly how you do it. And that's called simultaneous multitasking. There's also something called what I call serial multitasking. In other words, it's going back and forth between 2 different tasks, kind of like what I just mentioned earlier, which is, all right, I'm going to get something done related to my reselling business, and then I'm going to go over to Facebook. Okay, I did that. I, responded to those 2 notifications on Facebook. Now I'm going to go back over to my eBay or my Poshmark listing or my Amazon listings that I'm doing or my FBA box that I'm preparing and putting together. I'm going to get something done with that. And then I'm going to go over to Instagram. And you can do that. Now, some people's minds don't work that way, that's not effective for them. That's why I'm putting out all different types of strategies. So you could decide which one is best for you. The other thing I had to mention is something I call chunking, which means that you don't have to accomplish everything all at once for it to be an accomplishment. For example, with your eBay listing, you may find that your goal is just to write the text of the description of the listing, and then you go over and you do something with regards to Facebook or with regards to Twitter or regards to Instagram, and you didn't necessarily get the whole listing done. So you go over, do a little bit of social media, then you go back and maybe you fill in information about the shipping. Maybe if you're doing calculated shipping like Noel Griffiths, you take the measurements for your package and you put that information in, whatever the case may be, and you do it in smaller chunks rather than getting the whole listing done or all the pictures done at once. Maybe you need to get 10 pictures done during the day. Well, instead of getting all 10 done right now, you get 5 of them done, and then you go over and you do something on social media. But the key is really to avoid getting bogged down between just constantly being distracted. What you don't want is, here's the thing you want to avoid. You're doing a listing on eBay or Poshmark, you're in the middle of writing it, and all of a sudden you hear a ding. How many times has this happened to you? Then you get kind of pulled over off task from the ding and you start responding to it, and before you know it, you've now spent 20 minutes on the phone or responding to some comment on Facebook that you've now taken away from time that could have been devoted to your listing. So, you'll find that you're able to manage your social media much better if you make it task dependent related to what you're doing in your reselling business. Another thing you want to do, and this doesn't happen in my Facebook group because we're really designed, as you could see from the image here, which is a new image I put up for our background. It's a very supportive group. There's no trolling or anything like that. But there are places on social media, not just on Facebook, but also on Instagram, where there's a lot of sniping back and forth. I mean, by and large, like I said earlier, the reselling community is awesome and very supportive, but there are some instances where there could be a lot of nastiness and back and forth and arguing. And while you may want to defend yourself in some way, then that's fine. Try not to get into a prolonged debate with somebody on Facebook or any kind of social media forum. Trust me, it's not a good use of your time. It's also not a good look, especially if you are running some form of reselling business. At some point you just have to say, especially in the beginning, all right, you made your point and that's it, and step away, because you really could get sucked into a debate all day. And you don't want to have those kind of prolonged social media fights on Facebook or any other kind of social media forum. The last thing I'm going to pass on to you, and this has to do with a characteristic that I think makes a lot of people successful in reselling, but I also think could be harmful, and that has to do with sort of almost like an obsessive compulsive personality characteristic, and in which you feel you have to do everything. So in other words, every time someone posts a YouTube video or posts a notification on Facebook, you feel like you have to go over there and you have to watch the whole thing and you have to go do it right then and there. You don't want to miss one. Well, you don't have to consume everything from every single person. It's okay to miss some things every once in a while. If someone has a live show that's on, it's okay to miss it. Your priority has to be your business. Your priority cannot be me. Your priority cannot be someone else's. Your priority has to be your business. And once you've got that set, then you start allocating your resources to everything else. But you have to make your business the main focus, or social media can literally cripple your business. And so really, really want to try to avoid that. We want to get it to the point where your use of it is in moderation. You don't want to have no use of it, because then that's going to hurt your business. There's so many amazing resources out there to help you. You've got to make use of them. And you're not going to know about them, and you're not going to be up to date with what's going on unless you're involved in social media. At the same time, you can't be on this other extreme end of the continuum where you're constantly using it all day, so you can't effectively run your business. You want to be right in the middle. So think Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You don't want it to be too hot. You don't want it to be too cold. You want it to be just right. That's exactly how you want it. That's right there, right in the middle, moderation. The ancient Greek philosophers talked about this all the time. Plato and Aristotle, Socrates, always talking about reaching the point of moderation and balance. And that's the healthiest place where you need to be. We don't always get there, but that's where we're trying to strive to get, is to try to strive to get that balance. So I hope that you found these tips helpful for you, that they could be useful for you going forwards. And if you hear or know of others that are struggling with this, please make sure, hey, there's Kathy Bull down below, one of my favorite people. She's awesome. Anyway, so yeah, I hope it's useful for you. Make sure that if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, especially if this is the first time you're coming by and you've still stuck with this. Come to the live show tomorrow night with Casey, the Rockstar Flipper. Please share this with others who you feel or know are really struggling with this issue and getting bogged down by it. And also, make sure, like I said, here's my Facebook group. Come and join it. It's a great, great group. Just very, very supportive, as you can see here. That image is really what it is like within that group. I kid you not. You will see that in 2 seconds when you come in there. Also remember Instagram at prime_time_treasure. I'm really trying to build that up this year, so I'd love to see you over there and interact with you. And that's about it. I've got some other things. Speaking of balancing my time, I've got to balance my time and get to other things. So that's the end of this video. I'll see you at the next one, and see you all at the live show. Take care, everyone.